大家好，我係 Andrew 啊，依個側邊係阿 Dr. Wen 醫生。
Hello。
咁我哋咧就今日好高興咧，就多咗咁多朋友咧，可以能夠咧係可以喺度咧係大家傾下偈，同埋咧 Dr. Wen 今日咧講完書之後咧係有好多時間咧答你嘅不同嘅問題。咁所以其實咧，如果你講完書之後咧，可以問多啲問題。咁啊，如果你聽到我講嘅咧，可唔可以寫個一字喺個webinar 嗰度啊，寫1111咁就得㗎啦。OK，very good。Oh，thank you。Wow，thanks Ann。very good。OK，good。咁啊，大家聽得好清楚咯，嗬。OK，咁我哋依家就 webinar 開始㗎咯喎。OK。今日 webinar 開始咧，就阿 Dr. Wen 咧就會講中文，我就會講英文。咁當然啦，可能咧有個機會咧，我講得唔咁清楚嘅時候咧 ，Dr. Wen 會幫手去translate 埋呢樣嘢啦。OK。Is it typical study? Okay. What we're going to do is, first of all, today we will have Dr. Wen speak Cantonese, and because there will be a lot of our Hong Kong clients and patients, and I will be the one who's speaking the English today. But at that time, maybe at time that I'm not able to translate, so we're going to have Dr. Wen to probably add on at that time. Okay, so why don't we start now?
OK， 係，各位好嚇，咁咧我係 Dr. Wen 啦，好多謝 Andrew 今日邀請嚟同大家講下關於一啲糖尿糖尿前期嘅有啲咩注意，有咩巧妙嘅嘢。咁咧睇戲我哋成日都有前傳嘅，咁所以糖尿病咧我哋都有前傳嘅。咁所以今日我哋個題目咧，主要都係重點係要前傳，即係未到糖尿病嗰個階段咧，我哋要做啲乜嘢嘅。
Okay, as you know, when you have a disease, it actually do take time to develop, and if you are pre-diabetic, it will take some time to be a diabetes. So today, our focus, we talk about how this pre-diabetic patient will be suddenly, not suddenly, but as time goes on, progress to be a diabetes. So this is going to be our today focus. And we'll talk about how this 5 steps to prevent of this pre-diabetic to a diabetes.
好，咁我哋開始啦。今日主要就講5個 steps 嘅。係啦，咁咧第一個步驟咧，最緊要嗰樣嘢咧，大家都要知道。你要預防自己有糖尿病，咁你知唔知道自己其實已經係糖尿病嘅前期咧？究竟
？Well, a lot of people have to really say, I want to be aware, am I a pre-diabetic patient? So do you know what is a pre-diabetic person will look like?
係，咁糖尿病前期咧就唔係一種病嚟嘅，大家唔使擔心住先。但係其實佢係一種狀態。喺糖尿病之前咧，我哋發覺抽血嘅時候咧，發覺有啲人唔係好妥喎，咁我哋就叫咗呢種做糖尿病嘅前期啦。
As you know, actually, if you are pre-diabetic, you are not really a diabetes yet, and you are not really called a disease. But because of the fact that while you go to doctors, you start getting some blood tests, and start identify you, now you are, becoming there's certain indication in the blood test indicate that you are already a pre-diabetic, but you are not a disease yet. But we still have to understand what are your stages and what are your progression is. So we need to start watching you.
講翻好多年前咧，所有糖尿病我哋點發現嘅咧，都係個個有晒病徵啦，好嚴重啊！大家聽到糖尿病徵，譬如瘦咗啊，好頸渴啦，成日要去廁所啊呢一啲，咁好多時去到病發有病徵嘅糖尿病咧，其實都已經係比較嚴重後期嘅糖尿病㗎啦。
Well, previously in history, as you know, when people find out they have diabetes, they actually already in a pretty deep stage of diabetes. They usually have, lost a lot of weight, very thirsty, keep drinking a lot of water, and on the blood test is pretty serious in the high blood sugar. So from that, they say, wow, this is really a diabetes. That was the good old days.
好，咁但係咧，因為人就越嚟越注重健康啦，開始會做身體檢查啦，咁我就發覺開始有好多人咧，佢個血糖原來已經開始比正常高咗，咁但係咧又未去到糖尿病個階段喎，咁所以咧就出現咗糖尿病前期呢個概念啦。咁以前唔做身體檢查嘅人咧，係唔會發現呢樣嘢嘅。
Well, as you know, medicine is really progressing. So net result, people now, more and more people go to check with the doctors, take blood tests, and start realizing, wow, my blood sugar is going up. And then at this time, there are more awareness and more blood sugars start being identified that they are in a range that can be easily to be a diabetes. So now are more progressed in the sense that they start getting a concept. Now you have a pre-diabetic condition coming up.
所以咧意識到係糖尿前期就非常之好啦，就唔使咧出現嗰啲糖尿病嘅併發症。我哋早啲知道咧，就早啲開始要 take 一啲 steps 去預防糖尿病嘅發展啦。
So it's really good because at the end of the day, nowadays since everybody take blood tests and start understand what it is, and instead of like the good old days when we identify you, you are already a very sick person. Now you actually have blood tests and show that, okay, you are in pre-diabetic state, not really in the disease yet, but at least we understand where you're at, and you can actually start taking steps to prevent you become truly a diabetes.
咁好啦，咁究竟呢一個糖尿病前期其實係一個點嘅狀態咧？就係咧，你抽血嘅時候咧，發覺你嘅血糖比正常高咗，但係咧又未高到去到糖尿病嗰個度數喎。
So how do you really identify you are pre-diabetic? Usually it's come up from a blood glucose test. You know, go to a doctor's office and say, well, okay, I'll take a blood test. And blood sugar is actually higher than normal, but it's not really high enough to call you a diabetes yet. And that's when we first identify you are pre-diabetic.
係，咁喺呢一個階段咧，其實我哋係完全一啲病徵都冇嘅。
And actually really at this stage, you really are total asymptomatic. In other words, you have no sign of you are a diabetes or you are pre-diabetic. You have no sign at all. No, it didn't show you are pre-diabetic or diabetes.
係咁，最緊要嗰樣嘢咧，點解我哋咁強調前期咧？因為我哋發覺前期咧，原來可以翻轉頭嘅，又或者佢會唔會一路差落去嘅？當然，如果我哋唔早啲 take 一啲 action 嘅話咧，可能有機會佢會一路變到落去，真係變咗糖尿病啦。
Why we're now so focused on pre-diabetic? The reason is because of the fact that this is a reversible state whereby you can actually take real action, and that result, you will not become a diabetes. You will not be converted. And you can actually continue to be in that stage without being converted. So that is tremendously, helping yourself and helping, your body not to get worse.
咁啊，所以咧，糖尿病前期咧，有陣時可能我哋去抽血之後咧，醫生可能都會同你講咗唔同嘅名嘅，可能咧會叫做空腹血糖高啦，或者話俾你聽咧，你個葡萄糖個耐量性唔足夠啦，咁又或者咧，有啲人咧最緊要咧，呢啲都未係糖尿病嘅。
Well, a lot of time when you actually go to the doctor and start doing some health check and blood test, and so you are not really a diabetic mellitus yet. But they will actually do a impaired fasting glucose, and which what they do is you have no food from night before and up to the morning. You're fasting, and they take a blood sugar. And secondly is impair your glucose tolerance test. In other words, they will give you to drink a lot of sugar, water, and then to find out where you at your sugar at the end of 3 hours, and then you can see. So with that, they can now, at least very early, they can start understanding what is your progression to diabetes. And you can actually able to manage you so you can able to get yourself easier not to become a true diabetic mellitus.
咁好啦，頭先講話抽血啦，咁咧有幾個數字咧，大家要知嘅。咁嗱，記住喎，係或者，如果你一係抽血嘅時候咧，空腹血糖大過5.9。大過5.6，但係咧又未到6.9喎，咁咧呢一個幅度裏邊咧就叫做糖尿病前期啦。
If your fasting glucose is 5.6 to 6.9 millimole, which is I think sorry, I need to convert it to the U.S. system. Hold on, let me get that for you. Give me just a second. And you should be somewhere. Hold on, let me get this out for you. Sorry about that, because I think it's important. A lot of our U.S. customer will. By the way, today was very nice. We have a lot of U.S. customers that is actually listening to us. And so, so basically, if you are a 5.6, 6.9, so basically you
100.
are 5.6.
100, 120.
Okay, so your range should be no more than 100 to 6.9 is 120. So if your fasting glucose is more than basically 120, is milligram per dil, then you are consider yourself is potentially a diabetic. So pre-diabetic, you should below 120. Okay.
Yeah, 係啦。咁又或者咧，有啲人可能佢空腹血糖咧再低啲嘅喎，不過咧佢食完嘢之後2小時嗰個血糖咧就高啦，個幅度咧就係7.8同11.1之間，咁呢個幅度咧就叫做糖尿病嘅前期啦。
Okay, another one is you got to measure 2 hours after your meal. What will be your blood sugar is going to be? So if your blood sugar is actually beyond 11.1, that means is 200 milligram per dil. Then you are basically, if you're below that, then you are still pre-diabetic. But above that, you are actually become a diabetes. So basically, the range is actually 140 to 200. So that range is very important. That's why a lot of people say, why should I need to prick my finger after dinner? And that is actually one reason they want to check you out on that. Okay, so that is another ratio that you need to look at.
咁另外仲有第3個 test， 第3個檢查咧，大家都要嘅咧，我哋中文就叫做糖化血紅素。咁個幅度咧就要係5.7至到6.4之間咧，就叫做糖尿病前期啦。如果大過6.4嘅話咧，其實已經係叫糖尿病㗎啦。
Okay, and now the third item besides your fasting glucose, second is 2 hours after meal, and then now the third most important, actually, a lot of people will also heard about this, is HbA1c. So if your HbA1c more than 6.4%, then sorry, you are now become a diabetes. If you're below that, so you are still on pre-diabetic conditions.
咁如果有人話，咦，我空腹血糖係屬於 pre-diabetic， 但係我糖化血紅素過咗喎，咁我叫做乜啊？唔好意思，呢個叫糖尿病啦。
So even if your fasting blood sugar is below the range of 6.9 or 120, and your blood A1C glucose is beyond 6.4, maybe 7. So I'm sorry, you are so-called not a pre-diabetic. You are actually diabetes already.
係啦。咁究竟咧，有幾多個糖尿病前期嘅病人咧係會變咗做糖尿病嘅咧？咁有人講過咧，研究報告就話咧，大概3至10年之間咧就會有機會變咗糖尿病㗎啦。
So the research actually show how long will it take you for changing from a pre-diabetic to a diabetes? And research show that from 3 to 10 years, the chances you will be converted from a pre-diabetic to a diabetes. And this is through research. So it's pretty real. And that's many of the articles actually saying that.
咁如果糖尿病再控制得唔好嘅話咧，甚至乎就會引起併發症啦、心臟病啊、心血管疾病啊呢啲咁嘅併發症。
As you know, if you are diabetic, you actually affect all your large vessels and also all your entire body small vessels. So one of the disease that you will hit very, very fast is your heart disease or cardiovascular complication. So that's something that you really have a high risk in there to get you to be fairly sick.
但係如果咧有一個健康嘅生活模式嘅話咧，我哋就可以延遲咧由糖尿病前期變做糖尿病，我哋可以延誤佢，甚至乎翻轉頭嘅機會咧，可以去到58%。
So at the end of the day, you really get a very healthy lifestyle to reduce, your sugar and so forth. So you delay your diabetic onset. So you really actually with the risk is decreased by 58%. So in other words, your lifestyle, changing a lifestyle become very important now. Because if you can change your lifestyle, that will go down 58% chances for you have your diabetic complication coming up. Delay your diabetic onset.
咁頭先講咗啦，糖尿病嘅併發症就唔多講，但係記住，成個身體每一部分都關佢事。
So if you become diabetic, you are actually remember this, the entire body, all the large and small vessels are all affected. So net result, you are basically everything you in the body, like heart, eye, kidney, vessels, everything will be related. So, you got to be really understand this is a tremendous risk. You have to be careful in that.
咁有啲咩人會容易啲會有糖尿病啊，或者可能係糖尿病嘅前期咧？
So, who are the people who have high risk become a pre-diabetic or diabetic?
第一樣就係年紀，不過年紀就唔好誤會咧，唔係60、70歲㗎，其實好多咧30、40歲咧都已經有機會㗎啦。
So really the first thing is increase your age, but don't misunderstand. Age doesn't mean you have to 50 or 60 years old. Many of the diabetes now is at age 30, so very young. They also have diabetes now.
另外，如果家族病史裏邊有糖尿病嘅人咧，又會風險高啲啦。
So another one is when you have your family members have diabetic mellitus, so you also have a higher chances to have a diabetes mellitus.
咁當然呢個香港都好常見啦，我諗美國都好常見啦，過重或者肥胖嘅人咧都係高啲風險嘅。
And also when you're overweight or you're obese, the chances for you to become a diabetes mellitus is also very high. Especially in the state, a lot of people are obese, so that has to be watched.
咁另外一個女士咧，如果曾經喺懷孕期間有糖尿病嘅話咧，就算佢生完之後個血糖正常翻都好咧，佢將來有糖尿病前期或者糖尿病嘅機會咧，都係會大啲嘅。
Okay, gestation diabetic is the diabetes for ladies who during the pregnancy become diabetes. And certainly even after the pregnancy completed, the baby is born, their blood sugar become normal. But on the other hand, the chances for them to turn back to a diabetes is high. So net result, even though you say, oh, I'm normal now, but nevertheless down the road, you still got to keep very check for your blood sugar, make sure you did not turn to a diabetes.
咁另外一個咧，就係好多現代人生活習慣就係好少運動嘅生活模式咧，都係會有一個風險嘅。
Another group is the people, as you know, in Hong Kong, more so, they don't exercise, they don't do anything, just sit in the office and work. These are the group of people that potentially become a diabetic because they don't move much, they don't do any much exercise. So net result, they have a high chance to become a diabetes.
咁究竟糖尿病前期又普唔普遍嘅咧？
So it really has a large scale of populations who are prevalent of pre-diabetic.
咁咧現時其實喺社會上咧都冇一啲好大規模嘅研究。究竟有幾多人係糖尿病前期緊咧？
Well, right now we don't have a large scale study how many people are truly pre-diabetic.
不過咧講緊糖尿病先，我哋相信前期嘅病人咧應該係多過咧糖尿病嘅，但係講緊65歲以上嘅長者咧，糖尿病個發病率都可以去到25%，接近1/4啦。
So, but on the hand, we know for sure. In Hong Kong, for example, 25.4% of people who are age 65 already diabetic. I mean, the diabetic population, age 65, 25% are age 65. So it's a big number right there. That's for sure, because people who are diabetic, they measure, they can understand. And I understand USA is 19 million people right now. They actually has a health study showing that 19 million US are pre-diabetic. And I think in Hong Kong there is a estimate is actually 2.3 million. Because a lot of people do not know they're pre-diabetic. I guess they have a scale they check, and that number is actually still very high, 2.3. That's big.
係啦，咁大家都會諗住啊，糖尿病梗係一個年紀大嘅疾病啦。不過咧喺香港都好咧，其實每5個糖尿病患者咧有1個其實係40歲以下嘅。
Well, a lot of people thought that diabetic must be a very old folks, and they are not necessary to be old age. But surprisingly, in Hong Kong, 1 out of 5 diabetic person is under 40 years old.
係啊，而有專家話咧，如果去到2030年嘅時候咧，即係講緊都係10年之後咧，相信呢個數字會係雙倍。
And also the expert will now say that by 2030, which is only about 10 years from now, this number will be double.
咁頭先都講咗咧，大家知道糖尿病前期係啲乜嘢啦，佢有啲咩影響啦。咁我哋講緊我哋第一件事知道咗之後，咁我哋點樣去測試咧？咁我哋講咗咧，完全係冇病徵噶嘛，糖尿病前期係咪
？Well, we talk about pre-diabetic, they're completely asymptomatic. In other words, no sign and symptom. So we all know that.
所以有一樣嘢一定要去做嘅咧，就係一定要去驗血。
So how do you find out you're pre-diabetic? The only thing you really find out is checking by blood test.
係啦，基本嘅要 check 一個空肚嘅血糖啦。
The first test is checking a fasting glucose test.
咁通常因為呢個係最方便嘅方法。
And this is the most convenient test. As you know, fasting blood glucose is just no food night before, and then in the morning go to the doctor's office or lab take a blood test.
係啦，如果空腹血糖高或者有啲其實有高風險人士咧，其實甚至乎就要考慮咧，除咗個空肚血糖咧，就要驗埋咧嗰個餐後2小時嗰個血糖啦，或者可能要驗埋呢個糖化血紅素咧，就更加準確嘅。
So besides doing your fasting glucose, actually at the end of the day, especially if you're a high-risk person, like for example, your parents are diabetes or you have other associated disease, it will be very good actually. You should do a oral glucose tolerance test. That's the one that you drank, some very heavy sugar and check 2 hours what is the blood sugar can be. And the next one will be actually you should do a HbA1c to see what is your result. Would it be 6.4% up or below that?
咁當然你 check 咗之後，如果係發現糖尿病前期唔係糖尿病嘅話咧，就唔係完㗎咯喎，因為你唔知道佢之後個變化會係點，所以我哋都係需要咧定期嘅自我監察嘅。
So at the end of the day, it's not say, hey, I take my test, I'm okay now. But you really need to continue to monitor yourself to see how are you doing. You really cannot just think that, well, I'm okay now. But you have to be really self-monitor continuously day after to understand where is your pre-diabetic state.
咁究竟幾耐驗一次先至為之標準咧？
So what is the guideline actually to say how long do I take one blood test?
咁而家其實都仲未有一個咧好統一嘅檢測嘅頻密程度嘅，咁有人大概就話由每年去到5年1次到啦。
And at this stage, actually, a lot of people suggested that many countries actually, if you do it once, you should do it. There's really no standard yet, but at least for 5 years, for sure, you have to take one. But certainly, certain risks is different time, huh?
咁如果你譬如個空肚血糖雖然未到，但係都好近啦，比較高啲咧，嗰啲可能就未必係5年1次，可能1-2年就已經要驗1次啦。
So, for example, your fasting blood sugar is actually very high. So then, matter of fact, you do starting to say maybe every 2 years, you need to do one test already because your fasting blood sugar is actually elevated.
咁我哋幾多歲要開始驗咧？
And so, what age do you need to start off?
係，如果咧低風險，頭先講有啲咩風險因素啦。如果低風險嗰啲咧，就起碼40歲要開始啦。
So if you just say low risk, so age 40, you need to already start testing yourself.
咁但係如果有頭先講嗰啲高危嘅因素咧，其實係建議25歲要開始驗㗎啦。
So people who are already high risk factor, like for example, your parents are diabetic and you are not yet diabetes yet, but because you're high risk factor. So at age 25, you need to start actually testing yourself.
好，咁講咗 testing 啦。如果大家知道真係糖尿前期啦，咁我哋講翻咁究竟我哋要點樣控制咧？第三個步驟就係要控制個飲食。
So now you are being identified, you're pre-diabetic. So how am I going to control not to become a future diabetes? The first step you have to do is control your diet.
係，咁但係咧講到控制食物咧，好多人第一個諗係咪呢樣嘢都唔俾食咧？
When we start talking about, controlling diet, does it mean that we cannot eat anything and everything?
咁其實就唔係嘅，我哋主張咧就係一個均衡嘅飲食。
It's true that the matter is not really not to eat and anything, but the important is really a balanced diet regime.
同埋另外咧，我哋要選擇咧適量嘅碳水化合物，唔係唔俾食，不過係要適量同埋要識得揀。
So the next step is really you have to appropriate amount of carbs that you're going to intake. Is not to eat carbs, but rather is a selection to appropriate amount of carbs to intake.
咁同血糖偏高嘅人講咧，成日人哋叫你唔好食嘅，有一樣嘢可以食多啲嘅，非常之開心，就係高纖維嘅食物啦。
You already heard a lot of people say you cannot eat a lot of carbs. So what is the most important things you have to eat? You have to eat also one more thing, high fiber diet. And that's really important for you.
係啦，咁糖分高嘅食物當然就減少進食啦。
So certainly lower the food with less sugar is very important not to eat a lot. You have to reduce that.
一啲煎炸食物啦，或者一啲動物脂肪嘅食物啦，或者我哋叫飽和脂肪酸嘅食物啦，咁就少食啲啦。
So also you reduce any of the fried food or saturated fat food that has to be reduced.
仲有一啲鹽分高嘅食物咧，都少啲啦。
So you also need to not to take any high sodium, salty food. So, those are items that you need to reduce.
咁另外咧，我哋都會建議咧係一個固定嘅飲食時間啦，同埋固定嘅份量，就唔係一餐食好多，另外嗰餐完全唔食。咁呢個亦都唔係一個健康嘅飲食控制嚟嘅。
So you need to also go for a regular meal, like every day, 7 o'clock, you have dinner, you always have that. So regular meal time is always on that. And the amount you take is also quite regular.
咁另外咧就係我哋都要控制翻我哋嘅體重啦。
And also then you have to really control your weight.
咁好，咁究竟食物裏邊我哋點揀咧？食物我哋分為3大類嘅，一類碳水化合物、蛋白質同埋脂肪。
In food nutrition, there are 3 categories we will separate it. One is your carb, second is your protein, and third is your fat.
咁有啲人就話咧，我已經唔食糖水噶咯喎，唔飲汽水噶咯喎，點解我個血糖都係高嘅咧？其實我哋要減少嘅咧就係碳水化合物。
A lot of people say, hey, I already not eating all the fat, sugar. For example, I don't even drink soda water already. How come my blood sugar is still going high? Well, the more important is you have to control your carbs. That is very important. Control your carbs.
咁碳水化合物咧，其實都分幾類嘅，有澱粉質。
And actually, carbs also have few category, and you can separate. One is starch.
咁我哋仲有一啲叫葡萄糖啊、果糖啊、乳糖啊、蔗糖啊呢一類啦。
And the next one is actually we'll separate from carbs. You change to glucose, fructose, lactose, and sucrose.
咁呢一類我哋就叫做一啲單糖嘅，即係一啲比較簡單嘅糖分嚟嘅。
So this type of sugar is more simple sugar from your carbs.
另外一個碳水化合物嘅來源咧就係纖維素啦。
So the other carbohydrate item is cellulose.
好， 好，咁究竟我哋點解要揀一啲咧適量嘅碳水化合物咧？
Why it's so important? You have to eat the appropriate amount of carbs.
係啦，咁第一咧，我哋就可以改善到個血糖啦。
Because when you eat appropriate amount of carbs, you can truly control your blood sugar, improve your blood sugar control, definitely.
咁另外咧，當我哋明白唔同嘅食物有唔同嘅成分嘅時候咧，我哋就可以增加食物嘅種類嘅選擇啦。
So instead of a lot of people say, "Oh, I can eat this, can that," it's not true because now once you understand what is more carbs or less carb, now you can have actually a better increase your food choice, the carbs that you can select.
咁呢度咧就係一啲咧高糖分嘅食物嘅例子啦。咁所以其實唔係淨係雪糕啊或者糖水嘅。
And this is some of the carbs example, if you see in there. It's really not, it's only ice cream as you think, but you can see it's actually included like, soda, a lot of cakes, all those are bad carbs for you.
咁呢度咧其實特別強調嘅重點咧就係飲品啊。
And actually, very important, we have to think about is more on the sugar drinks, like Coke, all those items, that is high carbs and very little value for you.
係啦，兼且仲要唔飽肚，飲完好似冇飲過咁。
And basically, after you drank it, you don't feel like you satisfied much on your stomach, making full. It just give you some carbs, water.
係啦，咁另外一個概念咧就我哋叫做食物交換。
Well, another idea is food exchange. And that's something a lot of diabetic classes will tell you, oh, you can do some food exchange in your diet. And we'd like to talk a little bit more about what is food exchange.
咁個原則就係話咧，同一類型嘅食物，譬如碳水化合物裏邊咧，我呢一樣嘢食多咗咧，其實另外一樣嘢咧減翻佢，咁就 OK 㗎啦。咁每一日個份量咧差唔多，但係唔一定係每一日都食相同食物嘅。只要碳水化合物咁多種唔同食物裏邊咧，每一樣都可以係今日食多咗呢樣，聽日食翻少啲，或者早餐食多咗，午餐食翻少啲咧，其實都可以嘅。
So what does exchange stand for in carbs? For example, I have bread, potatoes, rice, all those are carbs. So I eat one bowl of rice, but I don't have to eat the rice, that I eat more bread. And I can exchange that, just the same amount, but different time, maybe in lunch, I eat less rice and my breakfast eat more bread, exchange, back and forth on the type of food to be selected, but they all carbs that you can exchange, eat less or eat more.
係有陣時有啲病人就話：我都已經唔食飯㗎啦，不過咧我就食5片白麵包嘅。
Some patient will say, "Hi, I have not eat rice anymore. In fact, I didn't eat rice for years now, but every day I eat 5 pieces of white bread."
所以個血糖都依然係高啦。
And then at the end of the day, too bad, the blood sugar is still very high. Actually, I have a lot of patients like that.
係啦，咁但係有啲食物嘅種類咧，我哋就唔可以交換㗎喎。例如碳水化合物咧，同埋蛋白質啊嗰啲咧，就唔可以交換嘅。
And there are certain items you really cannot exchange. In other words, you cannot exchange rice with like fish, which are protein, or meat, which are protein. You cannot exchange that.
係，又或者可唔可以話我今日咧唔食飯，完全唔食，咁我食多2啖肉得唔得咧？係唔得嘅。
So can I actually say I don't eat rice? I just don't eat all meat, just beef or chicken or fish. Can I do that? Theoretically, you cannot do that. But you could eat maybe 1/4 bowl of rice, a little bit of carbs, and some meat. That's okay.
係啊，有一個好不幸嘅狀況就係，當你如果身體完全冇晒碳水化合物嘅話咧，唔好以為咁樣對個血糖好，因為你個身體會知道太少碳水化合物啦，自己做翻啲出嚟啦。
Okay. Unfortunately, I need to tell you a real problem. When your body starts recognizing you have no absolute carbs in the body, you know what your body will do? They will actually start putting their own carbohydrate out in your body to satisfy the missing carbohydrate. So it's kind of scary, you know, when you eat. Some people say, I didn't eat any more carbs, but somehow the carbs came out from the body. Excuse me.
OK。
Yeah, sure.
咁咧，另外一個咧，我哋要揀食物嘅時候咧，除咗睇佢係邊一樣種類為主啦，我哋咧都要揀一啲咧，我哋叫升糖指數低嘅食物。
So besides choosing the type of food from carbs and all that, also we still need to talk about glycemic index, or they commonly call it the GI index. And what this index does is telling you what's this food, how fast it bring up sugar up.
係啦，可能好多人都聽過升糖指數，但係唔知係咩。佢就係咧，當我哋食嘢嘅時候咧，嗰樣食物令到我哋血糖上升嘅速度咧有幾快。
So a lot of people still do not understand what a GI index, but basically what it does is measure your carbs, the type of food, how fast it bring your blood sugar up.
如果咧升糖指數高嘅食物咧，即係話你食咗落肚之後，你身體嘅血糖咧就會上升得好快啦。
So a high GI index food means that when you eat, your blood sugar will goes up fast, tremendously. And so those are, high GI index food.
係啊，咁相反咧，如果 GI 升糖指數低嘅食物咧，你食咗之後，身體血糖嘅上升速度咧就會慢慢咁升啦。
So the other, if your GI index low, your food, basically your blood sugar will not go up that fast. For example, maybe I'll give you an example. Almond bread, your GI index is only 1. And then your rice is 93, the bowl of rice. I was scared when I saw that. I said, why GI index 93 versus almond bread is 1? That's a very big difference. So 講咧就係GI index for 一個杏仁麵包嗰個麵粉咧係1啊，飯原來90幾嘅，好勁啊！
係啊，所以我哋強調嘅咧就唔再係咧。以前我哋成日諗營養師即係叫你樣樣唔俾食，我哋而家反而強調嘅，你係要識得點去揀食物。
So before, dietitian would say, oh, you can eat this, can eat that. But really the newer concept is not what you should not eat this and that, but rather choose properly, intelligently to monitor what you intake to actually control your blood sugars.
好啦，咁講完食啦，我哋都要喐動嘅，都要做翻啲運動。
So after you eat, now you have to truly learn about how you can move around and start talking about exercise after you eat now.
咁做運動點解可以幫助到我哋降血糖咧？
So how do you actually, because of exercise, how do you reduce your blood sugar?
係因為咧，好多人想減肥嘅懶人都想坐喺度就可以減到肥。
A lot of people who don't want to move and they are kind of obese, they figure maybe I can just sit there and my weight will go down.
呢個其實都唔係冇可能，但係咧，我哋要知道，我哋身體使用糖分咧，最多嘅就係肌肉。
Actually, yeah, there's that possibility. But you know what happened? The most, your body most utilized glucose is your muscles.
所以如果我哋啲肌肉細胞多嘅話咧，其實就真係可以做到咧，坐喺度、瞓喺度都可以幫你消耗咗啲血糖，一個非常之吸引嘅。
Okay, so if your actual blood, or rather your muscles are lots of muscles, you're a muscle guy, and you can literally actually just sit there, you can actually use up your glucose. So you need to build muscles.
咁另外咧，做運動咧可以幫我哋咧增加咧胰島素嘅敏感性嘅。
So also when you exercise, it increase your insulin resistance.
胰島素咧要嚟做咩咧？就係幫助我哋身體咧消耗啲糖分嘅。
As you know, what the insulin will do, it help you to reduce your blood sugars.
咁所以當胰島素個效能好啲嘅話咧，咁啊可以消耗多啲糖分咯。
So if your body is good, you do a lot of exercise, actually start burning your you got your insulin to use more to get rid of your sugars.
咁咧，其實做運動咧都有其他好處嘅。
So actually exercise also get other benefits.
係，佢可以改善埋血脂嘅水平啦。
Certainly, if one is help you to improve your cholesterol level.
可以幫我哋降低血壓啦。
They also decrease your blood pressure.
係，幫我哋控制翻個體重啦。
And they also help you to control your weight, body weight.
係，幫我哋增強體力啦，好力啲啦。
And you also improve your physical strength.
係，當然好緊要嘅咧，就係可以改善心情添。
And also, after more exercise, improve your mental well-being. That's really cool.
咁好啊，咁就係講做運動，咁究竟做咩運動適合咧？
So, what exercise we can better for you?
係啦，咁咧有一啲咧唔同類型嘅運動咧，包括有帶氧運動啦。
So, first, type of exercise is aerobic, meaning that will give you a lot more. You have to get a lot more oxygen to satisfy this, exercise. So it will give you some, more oxygen exercise required. In other words, like running and stuff like that. Those are the type of exercise, aerobic exercise.
咁另外有一啲咧就叫做咧肌肉力量嘅訓練，即係強化我哋嘅肌肉嘅。
And other exercise is help you to strengthen your muscles.
尤其是我哋叫大肌肉，即係我哋嘅胸腹嘅肌肉。
So especially this is something that you have to increase your muscles in a larger body area, which like your thigh and your chest area and stomach area, abdomen area. So those are the so-called big muscles in the front.
係啦，咁因為咧呢啲大肌肉咧喺我哋靜止狀態嘅時候咧，佢都會消耗緊一啲糖分同埋熱量咧嚟到增加我哋嘅新陳代謝嘅。
And this large muscles right here is actually also, even though you don't do a lot of things, it also burn up because the muscles will use up your sugar. So those are very important muscles to continue let them to burn your muscles in a large body's area, muscle area.
咁另外有一啲運動咧，而家開始有人講嘅咧，就叫做高強度嘅間歇訓練。
And now there's some exercise is really also consider a exercise
high
that
intensity.
High intensity
intermittent training.
Okay, high intensity intermittent training that will help you actually lower your blood sugar.
即係話咧，我哋做一個好強度嘅運動，然之後停一停，跟住咧又做一個好短時間好強度嘅運動，又再停一停，咁重複又重複咁訓練。
And basically the exercise actually is very interesting. You use a very hard exercise in a very short period of time, and you stop, and you rest a little bit, and you do again a very, very tough exercise, and you stop again, and repeat over again. And that is the type of exercise to do to basically help you to the training to get your blood sugar go back to a normal level.
咁呢啲都係另外一啲做運動嘅方式啦。
This is another type of exercise that will do. As a matter of fact, on this slide, you might not able to see real well.
Yeah.
But later on, when we send you folks the replay, you can actually look at it and see. And this is actually a study that actually after you do that, it really actually lower your blood sugar. So you can see that later. 即係我哋有個 slide 咧，或者依家睇唔清楚，但係遲啲咧，我再寄翻個影片俾你嘅，再翻睇咧，你係會睇得更加清楚嘅。
咁咧，其實而家好多人開始，譬如去做 gym 做 training 嘅時候咧，都好多人講緊呢個叫做高強度嘅間歇訓練。
A lot of people now going to gym actually really looking forward for this high intensity training to help them to lower the blood sugars.
好，咁做帶氧運動做幾多為之適合嘅帶氧運動咧？
So how much aerobic exercise is considered enough for you? or good enough for you.
咁我哋咧有數計嘅。
And actually, it does has measurement and number that you're supposed to do.
係啦，咁我哋就假設咧一個人個220就減翻佢嘅年紀咧，咁呢個咧就係咧安全嘅做運動時嘅心跳限制啦。
So actually, if you typically what you do is how much exercise you can do, and your heart rate become very important factor. So what you do is you use 220 minus your age. So for example, 220, I'm 60 years old, minus that is 140. So my heart rate should not be more than 140, basically. That's how you do it.
咁如果講緊大氧運動咧，我哋就會建議咧就做一啲低啦至到中量嘅運動嘅，就唔同頭先咧講係高強度嘅間歇運動。
So when you do aerobic exercise, you should have medium, not the intensity type of exercise, like we just previous slide talked about. So what that means is you cannot make it very, very intensity, but this is a little bit more moderate type of exercise.
係啦，咁如果低度至中度運動咧，就係我哋嘅心跳咧，大概係我哋安全心跳上限嘅60至到80% 度。
Okay, so if I'm 60 years old, I minus 220, so I should have an exercise of heartbeat no more than 140. That's a maximum rate. But because of the fact that I'm only targeted for a moderate or more safer or low to moderate intensity, that heart rate should be somewhere between 70 to 85%. So net result, you should be about maybe 120 around that range. Previous? Okay, sorry.
係咁咧，冇咗計數嗰張嘢。
係咁樣。哦。
係啦。咁除咗做運動之外，咁另外咧，我哋就係要最後一個步驟啦，就係要控制咧一啲咧同糖尿病前期有關嘅其他狀況啦。
Well, besides your exercise, now we have went through, your diet. Now you do exercise. Now the third thing is you need to start control the other condition, which is considered a risk factor for you, which lead you to be a diabetes.
例如第一樣就係要戒煙啦。
The first one is stop smoking. That's very important. No smoking.
第二就係要控制好個血壓。
The second is actually have to control very well your blood pressure, which is supposed to be 120 to 80 mm per Hg.
咁第三咧就係都要控制好個血脂同埋膽固醇。
And the third is you have to control your LDL, which affect your heart. So typically in Hong Kong, your LDL should be 3.4 millimole per liter. In the United States, you should no more than 130 milligram per dil.
咁另外咧，我哋都要控制好咧我哋嘅體重。
So the next step is you need to now control your body weight.
係啦，咁點為之肥得滯咧？
So how do you consider yourself is obese?
係啦，咁咧我哋睇3樣嘢嘅。
So 3 things we'll watch for.
第一就係我哋嘅身高體重指標啦。
So the first one is BMI, which is your body weight and your height.
係啦，咁如果中國人咧，我哋理想嘅咧就係18.5至到23嘅。
For Chinese is 18.5 to 23.
係啦，呢個算錯。係啦，咁如果西方人嘅話咧，我哋可以接受到18.5至到25嘅。
So for Westerner, Caucasian, will be 18.5 to 25. There's a typo up there, but 23 is for Chinese.
係23。咁另外咧，如果就算我個 身高體重指標係合格都好咧，我哋都要睇下我哋有冇中央肥胖。
But even though your BMI is good, But one of the things that you really have to work at and look at is your central obesity, meaning that is my big belly, is which is really that's what you're going to measure. I think in Hawaii and United States have a lot of these people.
係啦，就我哋嘅腰圍啦。
So that one is really important to really check your waist circumference to consider your central obesity.
係啦，咁男士同女士咧就唔一樣嘅，男士就90 cm 以下啦，女士就80 cm 以下。
And the normal waist circumference should be for men is 90 cm or 36 inches. For women is 80 cm and 32 inches.
咁呢一度咧都見到張圖表咧，就係咧究竟點樣為之肥胖，點樣為之超重嘅？咁呢幅圖咧其實就係俾中國人嘅。
On the picture on the right-hand side, you see obese is greater than 25 BMI, and overweight is also 25, 23, 25, 24.9, which is almost 25 BMI. And then the normal range should be stay at 18.5 to 22.9 or 23. Underweight is less than 18.5 BMI. That's actually is considered underweight.
咁另外咧，其實而家仲有啲磅咧，就唔係磅體重嘅，係磅我哋嘅脂肪比例嘅。
And it's kind of nice nowadays, you know, weight scale has become very sophisticated. So now they even had telling you how much fats, body fats you have in your body. So those weight scale is quite good. And I do have one myself. I bought it measure every day.
係，咁但係比較常用啲，我哋都係用翻身高體重標準啦，同埋我哋嘅腰圍嘅。
So more important, you have to continue measure your BMI, which your height and weight measure. Last time, I think one of the class, I taught everybody how to calculate BMI. And important to continue measure your central obesities.
好，咁最後咧，其實今日都講咗5個唔同嘅 steps 啦，等大家由呢個糖尿嘅前期咧，希望預防佢唔好變到一個糖尿病。
Okay, so now today we have a fairly extensive talk about what is a pre-diabetic and how can you take step prevent you to become a diabetes.
咁第一樣咧，記住第一個 steps 咧，就係你要意識到呢一樣嘢同你有關先。
So the first step, you have to really build awareness of yourself and what is your related situation and so forth to be you will become a diabetes. So you have to build that awareness.
第二咧就係咧，你有意識之外，你要去驗嘅，你唔去驗血咧，你係永遠唔會知嘅。
And you really, in order for you to identify yourself whether you are pre-diabetic, you must take blood tests. If you don't take blood tests, you will never know you are a pre-diabetic or not.
第三咧就要一個適當嘅選擇飲食控制啦。
The third one, you really have to have a very good diet control and selection of good dieting. Not necessarily say, I cannot eat this, I cannot that. It's no longer that case. But intelligently select the right food for you to prevent your pre-diabetic, from pre-diabetic to diabetes.
咁第四咧就係要定期要有運動啦。
The fourth one is you have to have regular exercise.
最後咧都要控制好我哋嘅體重嘅。
The last but not least is really the weight control. And today is actually, that is the conclusion of our class or webinar. And it's time for questioning. If you guys have any questions, I have a lot of questions, by the way. I actually had collected 30 questions from all our patients and clients that been very kind, send me lots of questions, basically to ask Dr. Wen. So first of all, I will see any other question from you folks on the floor first. So the first question is from Marilyn Kine. It said, what kind of exercise do you recommend with COVID-19, where senior citizens are encouraged to stay home? And also, what kind of snack can you recommend for diabetic? Okay, 你講中文啦。
咁第一條問題就係問究竟如果係有呢個新冠病毒肺炎，一個老人家喺屋企可以做啲咩運動咧？咁其實可以有好多嘅。頭先講過嗰啲咧就叫做間歇性嘅高動態運動啦。咁不過老人家就小心啲，自己係咪真係做到？如果唔係做開運動嗰啲咧，如果高能量嘅運動其實都幾辛苦嘅。但係呢個最大嘅好處咧就係時間好短嘅啫。你真係做一個強度嘅運動咧，做3分鐘咧，其實真係好辛苦嘅。
So anyway, as you know, just now we talk about the high intensity exercise. That is not something that maybe you want to just go do it, because that is actually a very strenuous exercise. So just 3-minute exercise might be an extremely difficult task. So you guys have to watch that.
咁另外可以考慮下，如果譬如我哋唔可以出街跑步啊、游水啊嘅話咧，其實可以考慮下跳繩。
So people who cannot go out now because of COVID-19, as you know, and you can't go to a pool to swim or go to a gym exercise. So one of the things that maybe you can consider is rope jumping, doing a rope jumping. That can be also one of the good exercise.
係啦，咁另外有一啲 exercise 咧，頭先都講過，就係訓練我哋嘅咧中央嘅肌肉嘅，嗰啲係全部可以喺屋企做到嘅。
So some of the exercise that is actually core muscle training, which is like on the chest and the on your calf and thigh, those are exercise can actually do at home.
咁另外有啲乜嘢小食可以食咧？
And what kind of snack normally can go for diabetes now?
可以考慮下一啲麥包啦。
One of the things that we can try it out is almond bread is very good. Actually, another lecture we gave is nuts instead of regular nuts, which is like almond nuts or cashew nuts. 如果食蕉果啊，嗰啲 OK 嘅。Another one is we have a lecture on snack previously, and we suggest a lot of celeries. They cut thin celeries, and we can eat it with some cheese. That can be one choice. So those are kind of good snack because I like sometimes I like to watch TV. I must have something. So anyway, that's something that that will be one choice, if you will. Yeah. So another question here. Can I eat more if I choose low GI food? Example, 50 grams per day. 你講中文係
可唔可以食多啲啊
？GI food 啊，即係 low gastric food 啊。Like for example, more almond bread, for example, that's one.
可以食多少少嘅，不過因為咧，其實升糖嘅速度慢嘅話咧，我哋身體咧就多啲時間俾我哋個胰島素咧去降翻個血糖。咁但係調翻轉，如果你真係食得個量突然間太多嘅話咧，咁其實佢都係會升上去嘅。
Okay.
係啦。
So actually, it's not just eating more or more GI food is okay, because when you eat more, there's a potentially also your blood sugar will go up actually. So more you have to really, the GI food you took it, does it mean more? If you eat over the hump, that means your blood sugar goes up, right? Yeah. Okay.
咁有人又問，可唔可以用代糖嚟到煲糖水？
So some people ask, can I use, like equals to make my dessert, or my red bean soup 用呢個 equals 啊，或者用其他嘅代糖啊 ，OK？
理論上咧，代糖係可以代替糖嘅。
In principle, actually, if you have equals, yes, you can use that to make your dessert.
係啦，不過咧就都要注意翻個份量，因為咧開始有啲研究咧就講緊咧代糖有好多化學成分咧，咁可能就引起其他健康嘅問題，咁所以都係要適量咯。
Okay, so by the hand, yes, definitely it's okay to eat equals, or different type of sugar that is not real sugar. I mean, just sweetener, not sugar, sweetener to do your dessert. However, because of the fact that it is still a chemical, so in research they were saying that with that eating a lot, you have to be very careful.
咁另外紅豆沙、綠豆沙食唔食得？
So the next question is red bean soup, also green bean soup, can it be eaten?
咁所以咧，今日我都話講飲食嗰度咧，我就同大家講，其實你乜嘢都食得。
So actually, in reality, you can eat anything. You can eat actually your beans, your red bean soup, your green bean soup, anything you want to, you can eat.
係啦，不過咧，我哋要記住，今餐食多咗，下餐要減翻，因為我哋係計總份量嘅。
So the most important, if you eat a lot this time, the next time you eat is you have to eat less to minus the back off. So it's really actually the most important is the total amount of food you eat, not only just one meal.
係啦，又或者你有紅豆沙、綠豆沙，咁你可能其他嘅碳水化合物咧，就相應減翻少啲咯。
And also because you have, red beans, which is all carbs, by the way. So you just need to exchange less carb food to balance it off. There's another question. Said, when he said, this person is, this is Chris. Is that I'm a pre-diabetic. Is reversible and can diabetes and is not. Why diabetes cannot? Okay, the question is, if they are pre-diabetic, you can reverse it. But why, if you are not, if you're already diabetes, why you cannot become not a diabetes? And I think that question is very interesting. A lot of people ask that question, by the way. So thank you for Chris to ask that question. A lot of people ask this question, by the way.
正如我頭先講咧，糖尿病前期唔係一個病嚟嘅，係一個狀態嘅。身體咧會出現咗一啲變化，令到我哋發現得到有呢個變化。當佢變化到咁上下，去到一個位咧，就翻唔到轉頭啦。
Okay, as you know, pre-diabetic is not a disease yet. And it will continue to change. The body continue to change and change and change. At the end of the day, once you become over the hump, you cannot go back. So basically, you can be continued with pre-diabetic, and you will not still call you diabetes as an actual disease. But once you're over the hump, you can't go back.
不過又唔使咁灰心住嘅。
But you don't have to be so depressed or so worried about that yet.
雖然如果有咗個診斷係去咗糖尿咧，我哋永遠都會叫你做糖尿病㗎啦，無論你個血糖降到幾低都好。不過唔係所有糖尿病嘅人咧都必須一定要食藥。如果佢有糖尿，去咗糖尿病，但係佢控制得好個血糖嘅話咧，其實依然都可以唔使食藥嘅。只不過我哋個名依然都會叫做糖尿病咁解啫。
In the medical standpoint, once you're over the hump, meaning that your A1C is already over 6.4, you are now 7 or 6.8. In the definition, in the doctor definition, you are already a diabetes. And no matter from that on, we'll always call you are diabetic. So you can't change that. But on the other hand, your blood sugar is continually good, so you don't really need medication. So doctor, even though you are called a diabetic person, but the doctor might not necessarily give you a medication to lower your blood sugar. So you can continue to control your blood sugar, but on the other hand, your name-wise, you'll be always called a diabetic. So another question is that you mentioned carbs improve glucose control. In fact, carbs intake increase blood sugar. How carbs can control glucose. And so once become a diabetic, A1C 6.4, the best is statics.
咪即係
carbohydrate.
佢係會 increase sugar，唔可以 help control glucose。
Okay, so basically one of the things that you mentioned, carb. When you have carbs, it doesn't improve your glucose control. Carbs is carbs. It may just give you more carbs, your sugar definitely goes up. It doesn't go down. 即係你有 carbs 嘅時候咧，你個 sugar 一定會上去嘅，唔會話唔會上去嘅，亦都唔會控制你血糖嘅。你只係食少啲 carbs 就少啲血糖嘅啫。OK， 係。咁然後咧就係 how carbs control your sugar carb。嗱，你食少啲 carbs，你嘅 sugar 一定會低㗎啦。咁同埋咧，當你係你嘅 A1C 咧係6.4上咗去咧，咁其實咧你已經係個糖尿患病者㗎啦，即係呢個係一個 definition 嚟嘅，喺醫生嚟講。So once you're diabetic, sorry, your HbA1c is over 6.4%.
Yeah.
You are defined yourself as a diabetic. You can't reverse that. Only thing you can control your blood sugar below, and then at the end of the day, it doesn't go up, and you might not have medication. But as a definition, you are a diabetic.
The best is static 係嘅，最好就係大過6.4，但係可以佢個 A1C 都會跌翻落去下邊，有機會控制到咧6.1、6.2嘅。但係一旦你高過6.4咧，就算你個 A1C 跌翻落去6.1、6.2都好咧，你都係叫做糖尿病。
So at the end of the day, if your A1C is over 6.4, maybe 6.5, and you do thorough testing, and later on you control your diet, you did real well, but on the other hand, now your A1C is 6. Unfortunately, the doctor will still classify you as a diabetic. It's not say I'm reversed. So yes, it's good to static, but on the other hand, once you're over the hump, you are considered diabetic. So what we're trying to do is not to help you to convert to be a diabetic. That's why I keep educating is not to be yourself to convert to be diabetic over 6.4. Okay? Any other question? There's some more question. 係呢個係 Ada 問嘅。
係生酮飲食咧，而家其實都一個比較新嘅飲食方法嚟嘅。咁都喺營養師佢哋嗰個界別裏邊啦，都好多 debate on 呢一樣嘢。咁我哋都發覺就真係都唔少，無論理念又好，或者我哋見過一啲例子都好咧，用咗生酮飲食方法嘅病人咧，佢個血糖真係低咗好多。
生酮飲食係 fat 啊
？keto。
keto, okay.
Protein.
Yeah, okay. So the thing is, a lot of basic looking for keto diet, and they actually ate a lot of fat. Yes, it does actually lower your blood sugar. However, you have to watch. Another thing is your fat.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing that you have to, because a keto diet is actually very popular nowadays. You see a lot of advertising keto diet, and basically at the end of the day, you do actually see your blood sugar go down. However, they also eat a lot of fat, and a lot of fat meaning that could potentially get cholesterol and all the good stuff that come along. So you do have to check, make sure that is okay. But that's, I mean, it's too early yet. I mean, just now it's very popular. It actually does lower your blood sugar for now.
係啊，但係我哋喺實際上，我哋都見唔少病人，我哋都會見有病人係用緊生酮飲食呢個方法咧。咁的而且確血糖有啲病人係降得到，但我哋發覺好多時佢哋個膽固醇同埋個3脂甘油酸咧係升得好犀利。
Okay, but however, yes, as Dr. Wen saw many of these patients using keto diet, it is true that blood sugar really went down. But when they start taking the blood sugar, then the cholesterol, the triglyceride, the LDL all went up tremendously. That's the risk that you have to watch. And that's why you have to kind of not to think that, wow, keto diet is good. Yeah, it's good. But on the other hand, you have to watch those additional side effect from the keto diet.
係啦，咁所以如果真係用緊呢個飲食方法嘅病人，唔好淨係睇自己個血糖，真係要好頻密咁去 check 埋自己個膽固醇。
So don't just kind of look at just the blood sugar, but forget all the other stuff, which is like the triglyceride, cholesterol, and all the good stuff that come along, LDL, which affect your heart. So you have to be very careful. So you don't just, forget about the rest. Okay. Yeah. Okay. There's another question. Can I drink shake like Herbalife for breakfast because it is low GI? So that's another question from another attendees. Yeah.
係啦，咁咧都其實 Herbalife 裏邊有啲咩成分咧，我就唔係好肯定嘅。咁不過咧，如果佢係一個好 low GI 嘅食物嘅話咧，咁相信係當血糖係有好處嘅。
Well, Dr. Wen do not really know what's Herbalife contents of the shake that you drinking. But if it really truly classified as a low GI, then it's good to drink, because it's low GI is mean you drank it, the blood sugar will not go up that fast. That is good.
不過咧，有陣時我自己實際上就見好多病人咧對呢一類型嘅食物咧有啲誤解嘅。
Okay, but on the other hand, we also see a lot of the patients tend to be misunderstood some of the GI, low GI information.
係啦，咁佢哋攞呢啲 shake 啊，或者一啲叫糖尿奶粉咧，當係一個 supplement。個意思就係佢哋會有一個正常嘅餐，早餐、午餐、晚餐，佢另外會加多一杯糖尿奶。
And actually, a lot of people thought that, wow, this is a supplement, so they eat a lot of this low GI. But on the other hand, they also have one drink. It's called low diabetic drinks.
Low diabetic milk.
Low by diabetic milk. Yes, low diabetic milk.
係啦，咁所以如果係佢食完一餐正餐，再加多杯奶嘅話咧，雖然嗰杯奶就聲稱對糖尿病係好嘅，但係問題佢嘅吸收就會過咗量啦。
So the important thing is when, yes, that's true that you know, eating the low GI, but when you add on a additional diabetic milk, as you know, that is still sugar and other you know, energy sugar in there. So when you drink that additional, that's the additional carb that you would take in or additional energy take in. Over the hump, that means you need more insulin to work with. So that becomes an issue which you need to watch.
係啦，除非你如果有一啲譬如糖尿奶粉嗰啲咧，你係唔食早餐，淨係用嗰杯奶嚟到做你嘅早餐咧，咁就係 OK， 因為啲糖尿奶粉咧，佢哋個 GI value 的而且確係低嘅。
Okay, so another the thing is, as long as you do not eat other stuff, it's only the diabetic milk. Maybe that's okay because net result that your body can handle the absorption of that milk. Rather you take all the other item plus another milk, then you're over the hump. Then you know it's be difficult because you know might not have enough insulin to process that. Okay, that's another question from Chris.
呢個5.5唔高啊，但長期3支金月 triglyceride 高
400
即係幾多啊？4哇，即係67啊
400 OK。
丙胺天冬胺
Triglyceride 400 right？
係啊 ，triglyceride 400。丙胺同埋天冬胺會係咩嚟㗎？丙胺。
你睇你呢個，我用呢個另外一個 question 先。Actually, we have a lot other question we ask, and then you know, Dr. Wang, there's a patient asked. Actually, Dr. Wang, there's questions. I actually collect a bunch of questions which I think want to ask you on this. It said this question is for you. Is that why you know this? The patient has to prick the fingers in empty stomach first in the morning, and doctors say after 2 hours after breakfast they prick the blood sugar again, and then after dinner they prick the lunch, and after dinner they also again ask them to prick their fingers. So what is the purpose of pricking so many times for these particular patients? He says it's very painful, and you know she said, wow, you know I have to keep pricking my finger. I don't like that. So what is the reason, basically, why the doctor keep asking 2 hours after they eat meal, they have to prick the fingers?
因為唔同時候篤嘅手指個血糖咧，其實有唔同意思嘅。例如空肚血糖嘅話咧，其實就係睇緊你身體喺冇任何外在食物影響底下咧，其實你身體製造幾多糖分啦，同埋有幾多能力去製造個胰島素咧，去降低個血糖嘅。
So actually, you know, your body, your blood sugar is not static; it's continue to change as you move on. So net result, the reason why the doctor wants you to have 2 hours after your blood sugars being understand. The reason is because your blood sugars will change after meal, after 2 hours. Also, the doctor want to see whether your body can handle the food intake, your blood sugar. It does have enough insulin, for example, to handle your blood sugar. So net result of that, they want to make sure check those data after 2 hours. That's why they keep asking to prick your finger at that time.
係啦，咁所以如果你食完嘢之後篤手指嗰咧，就代表當身咧突然間個血糖上升嘅時候咧，你個身體有冇能力去降低翻個血糖
？So the important thing is to understand is your body actually can able to handle all the sugar that comes in. Does it have enough insulin or enough insulin resistant? basically to process your sugar. That's why after 2 hours become very
係
important.
啦，咁所以如果真係篤手指，我哋都真係建議咧喺空肚啦、食完嘢啦、唔同時間咧係有一啲唔同嘅度數嘅。
So actually, we also want to also understand is we want to understand if you have empty stomach, picking a finger, what's that mean? And afterwards, 2 hours after, what does that mean after you took in food? So that way we can understand better pictures how you're doing.
係啦，咁只不過如果真係怕痛嘅話咧，可能就唔需要日日咁篤幾次咯。可能譬如一個禮拜1日啦，或者可能兩個禮拜做兩個禮拜做3日啦，咁樣樣咯。
So unfortunately, certainly not everybody have epilepsy, so it can be very painful. So maybe what you can do is in 1 week you do it maybe 1 or twice, and then maybe 2 weeks you do 3-4 times. So that result is spread out, that you have at least a good data for the doctors. Okay, do you have another question here? Okay.
咁咧有人就問咧，如果 body check 嘅時候個空腹血糖5.2咧，咁呢個應該係正常嘅。
So the question is really if your body check and if your 5.2 is about let's see what's 5.2 5.2 is about 100, so that blood sugar less than 100, and that sugar is actually is in the normal range. However, what is it? What's the next point?
個3支甘油酸有400。
Okay, so next question is what happened to the conversion table? For
minimal 到
for LDL or for
LDL?
LDL, okay. So I need to check.
Glucose 都得㗎啦。
Glucose, okay.
你頭先篤手指。
Okay.
咁如果3支甘油酸400咧，應該大概就係呢個應該係美國用嘅指數嘅數字。我哋香港應該大概400，我估大概咪5-6度啊。
唔係好 sure 呢個400。
頭先嗰個。
Okay. Cholesterol LDL. This is the conversion cholesterol LDL.
TG。TG 呢？你開頭先 Google 嗰個
？Google 嗰個，呢度得唔得？
係咯，150對1，係啦，大概5度啦。如果400嘅話，大概相等於我哋香港用嘅 unit， 咁係高嘅。
即係佢幾多 ？Sorry。
400。
Okay. So your basically if your triglyceride is 400 is considered high. That's high because in Hong Kong is about 5.
係啦，咁另外個丙胺同埋天冬胺酶咧都輕微高。
丙胺係咩啊 ？Sorry。
ALT。
ALT。
係啦。
Okay. So the ALT。
一個肝酵素。
哦，肝酵素。Okay. Is high. Is it high or？
佢話輕微高。
Okay. So ALT is slightly high. So what's the question?
咁佢問咩？
呢個 AST。
最近 body check 咁輕微高。但係個問題係咩咧
？Okay, I guess Chris, we need to. We're not sure what you're asking about the weather issue. So is it weather? I don't know. Actually, that's one item. Maybe we'll use that as off the line ask question. How's that? Because we're not quite sure what you're asking on that one. Okay, but. Okay, so we have how about the conversion, blood sugar conversion? You need to do that. Okay. 又唔係No, okay. All right.
400係高嘅。
Okay, 400係高。Okay. So anyway, triglyceride go. Okay, I've any other question on this side?
呢個 how true is it? Reverse DM.
Okay, another question is someone who watched Dr. Jason Fong on the YouTube that reverse diabetes, how true it is.
我諗呢個問題就，如果你從醫學上嘅定義咧，你有咗糖尿病，即係我頭先講，你個數字一旦高咗上去嘅話咧，就算你低翻都好咧，我哋定義上都會叫你做糖尿病㗎啦。
Okay, the truth of the matter is that if you once over 6.5, which is you are considered a diabetic, in a medical standpoint, quote unquote, you are diabetes. You don't reverse.
Yes.
Now, although your blood sugar later on can be A1C will be less than 6.5 or 6, but in terms of the doctor definition of you're still a diabetic. However, they might not give you medication. You'll continue to be in that state and keeping yourself good health. You just not be a, get medication like metformin or whatever they're not going to give you because your blood sugar is well controlled. But nevertheless, you are identified as a diabetes, as that is the definition. So you cannot change yourself on that sense in the typical medical sense.
咁當然，如果你個血糖，譬如一開始個 A1C 7.5，如果你有適當嘅運動、飲食、生活習慣改變嘅話咧，你個血糖係可以喺一個冇藥物嘅情況底下咧，降翻落去6.3、6.2都係得嘅。
But keep in mind, even though your diabetes is less than, you are 6.5 over, but you drop it down to 6 or 6.3, 6.2, and you diet, you exercise, and you might never go back up. That is absolutely possible. And actually, it's good for your health. But just the definition, you are still a diabetes.
係啦，冇錯啦。咁所以佢 reverse DM， 我估佢嘅意思就係你個身體嘅狀況個血糖降翻低，就唔係我哋醫學上嘅 definition 咧個定義轉翻轉頭咯。
Okay, so the more important really got to understand is that it's not your definition you will actually like a cure diabetes. You still call it diabetic. Only thing a condition will be again to be a diabetic that you require medication. You keep yourself good health. And you should try to do that, by the way. You should try keeping do that. Okay, anyway, okay. So that's the questions is was it even though patient no longer need medications, so what's the question?
是嗰個糖尿病佢係咪講緊佢頭先嗰個
？OK， 係
頭先講過話，如果血糖5.2，咁呢個如果空腹血糖咧係唔高嘅。但係當然我哋要講你究竟係咪已經去到糖尿病前期咧，就唔係就係睇一個空腹血糖啦，我哋要睇咧食咗嘢2個鐘頭之後個血糖係咪高唔高啦，同埋個糖化血紅素高唔高。如果呢3個數字都係正常嘅話咧，咁就一定唔係糖尿病前期㗎啦。咁但係如果就算唔係糖尿病前期都好，如果你個3脂甘油酸高啊，其實都會影響我哋嘅肝酵素偏高，或者可能有機會有一個狀況我哋叫脂肪肝，呢個都好常見。
Okay. So the question is, if your fasting blood sugar is 5.2, which is about 100, I guess, 5.2, about 100. Yeah. So most likely you might be not diabetic. You're not even diabetic yet. You have no sign yet. However, there are 2 other signs you have to actually be checked. One is your A1C is really beyond 6.5 or 6.4%. Second is really to do your glucose tolerant test, which is very important. You drink some very sweet drink, and in 2 hours, we will take your blood sugar and see what is your blood sugar going to be. So that would determine, in these 3 items, determine whether you are truly a diabetic or pre-diabetic. And then suddenly, at the end of the day, we also, what other thing we test on that one, besides the 3?
2 hour
post-meal, yeah. We have to also check as 2 hours post-meal, right? And then A1C, yeah. There's 3 things, 3 items. So you have to, 1, you will check your fasting. 2 is your A1C. And 3rd is your glucose tolerance test. And 2 hours after you drink and see how it's going to go. Yeah. Okay. I have one question. Actually, I have one question that one of my patients asked. This patient is 65 years old. He has been informed of pre-diabetic, but recently his urinations are very frequent. and he has been doing every 2 to 3 times per hour voiding. So he was concerned that he heard about, wow, you know, if you are pre-diabetic, you tend to have a bad kidney, and that result, you tend to have problems with the tissue. So my question is, his question is it truly maybe his prostate problem or his other problem?
係啦，咁呢個係嘅。正如一開始就講啦，糖尿病前期係冇病徵嘅。
Okay, as we talk about, if you are pre-diabetic, you have no sign and symptom.
係啦，所以如果你話佢成日覺得要去廁所嘅話咧，呢個唔係糖尿病前期嘅病徵，除非佢已經變咗糖尿病。
If you are pre-diabetic, if you just keep going to frequent urinations, that probably this might not be a true pre-diabetic person, because there's no sign. That could be from other issue that you might occur, you know, like maybe a prostate issue and so forth. Yeah. Okay.
嗱，呢一個都幾得意。
Okay. 你要講啊？
係有人話咧，佢朝早起身嘅時候個空腹血糖咧就量咗啦，就唔高嘅，但係咧未食早餐乜都唔食，再過多幾個鐘頭之後咧，反而個血糖仲高咗喎，係咪正常？咁呢個我都成日好多病人問我，點解我唔食嘢個血糖會仲高咗嘅咧？
Interesting. You know, actually, that's a very interesting question by Howard. Asked for Howard. He said when he woke up in the morning, he measured blood sugar and he didn't eat anything. And then 3 hours later, his blood sugar even higher than his, fasting blood sugar. What is the reason for that?
咁其實我哋要明白咧，我哋身體嘅糖分唔係淨係嚟自食物嘅。
So you got to keep understand, your blood sugar is not only come from your own, the food you eat.
係啦，咁咧我哋個身體會自己製造一啲糖分啦，同時間咧我哋亦都會製造一啲荷爾蒙咧去幫我哋降低個糖分嘅。
As you know, your body will always also come up with their own sugar, and also have your, hormones to reduce the sugar. Hormone to reduce the sugar.
係啦，咁究竟喺呢一刻我個血糖係幾多咧？其實就係究竟我製造幾多，同埋我降幾多個速度個結果嚟嘅。
So the important is how fast your sugar comes out, and the body reacted with the various hormone to help to decrease the blood sugar. And that will be working together to lower the blood sugar. Body will definitely say, "I have blood sugar up." It will try to lower your blood sugar.
係啦，咁所以就算你話你唔食嘢，甚至乎再過多2個鐘頭啫，因為我哋個身體嘅狀況，我哋分泌嘅荷爾蒙啦，製造血糖嘅速度啦，係會不停改變緊嘅。所以你唔食嘢都好，2個鐘頭之後有機會我哋身體個血糖仲高咗嘅。
So don't let it fool you. If I don't eat, my blood sugar will actually not going up, because your body will create sugar, and then will create also hormone to lower the sugar, and it keep going in different speed. So could be you haven't eat 3 hours later, your blood sugar could be as higher than your fasting blood sugar in the morning.
甚至乎有啲病人佢會觀察到咧，我空肚嘅時候篤咗手指，但係我食完少少嘢之後咧，個血糖仲低咗嘅。
So some people said they will eat and then they found out one number, and then after they measure, the blood sugar become lower, even lower, not even higher. Because when you eat, it's supposed to go up higher, right?
係啦。
But it's very strange. After 8, it become much lower.
係啦，咁個原因就係咧，當我哋食咗嘢之後咧，身體有血糖咧，會刺激我哋身體分泌多啲胰島素出嚟，而呢個胰島素係有效咁咧，將個身體嘅血糖再降低啲。
And so net result, when you eat, your body will come up more insulin, and net result that more insulin will come out. So it fastly decrease your blood sugar, so your blood sugar further goes up. Any other questions here? Which is this one. How about this one? This one, H1C 616.
Medication. My fasting sugar 6.6, sometimes my PP reading is very high. Is something very dangerous. And what do you recommend?
答唔答條？
可以答。
嚇？
呢條都可以答嘅。
Okay. There's a question that came from Sama. And he said the A1C is 616, which is a diabetic person.
Yes. And on
And
medication
he
already.
is already on medication, and two times a day. And then his fasting blood sugar is 612 to 618. But sometimes his post-prandial is very high, as much as 10. Is after blood sugar after eat is 10. There's something very dangerous. What do you recommend?
係啦，咁咧如果講呢個就唔係講緊糖尿病前期啦，就真係講緊糖尿病人啦。如果糖尿病人咧，其實如果以佢空肚血糖6點幾啦，食完嘢之後大概10度咧，咁呢個其實就唔算太過過分嘅數字嘅，都算接受得到嘅。
So basically, Sama, you are actually identify yourself as diabetic by definition. So even though after you eat and it go up at as much as 10, that is considered, it's still part of the range of a diabetic patient. So it's not truly called a dangerous range.
係啦，不過咧，如果睇一個糖尿病人咧，我哋要睇佢控制得好唔好咧，我哋睇得最重要嗰個咧就係個 HbA1c 啦。
So if you are truly a diabetic, one of the most important to measure all the time is your HbA1c. It's very important. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, because of the time that we have, I know I've 23 questions to ask, but I've actually 30 questions to ask. Unfortunately, we didn't have time. I guess Dr. Wang is being a very good doctor, provides so much information. So, and since that now is 1.5 hours, so we do have to stop. So I think we have all the major questions pretty much answered right here. How about this one? Last question here. This is from Ching Winnie Ching.
係好嘅。
What is
係啦，佢問如果要減，一定要食飯，係咪可以減緊啲飯，或者係減少啲飯之後咧，就食其他嘅，例如番薯，咁即係其他嘅碳水化合物嚟到幫助佢補充翻個正如之前講就係我哋選擇碳水化合物咧，係選擇唔同種類嘅碳水化合物。咁如果飯減咗，其他如果個升糖指數低啲嘅碳水化合物咧，咁其實攞嚟取代個飯咧，其實係好嘅。
Okay.
番薯係好嘅。
番薯係好嘅，係 actually. Got a question. Sorry. The question is, if I don't eat rice, can I substitute with like red potatoes? So 番薯係sweet potato. Actually, sweet potato is actually good, and definitely is better than rice because rice the GI index is 93. I think sweet potato is 40 something, so it is better. White potato is not good, so regular white potato. So sweet potato is better because of better GI index. So that is definitely good. And so you don't eat rice, eat sweet potato is actually much more helpful. Okay. Secondly, is a question if you have this using a sweetener, can it helpful? Yes, it can help if you take sweetener because you have lower carbs. So that way you can actually lower your blood sugar. I think the rule of the game is easy. Just lower your carb, but you can do different exchange. You can actually, this way you can be much healthier. Very simple, okay? I think we asked almost pretty much all the questions today. I appreciate, actually there are a lot more questions, but unfortunately we ran out of time. But I do appreciate you guys actually spend your valuable Saturday afternoon or evening to actually attend our webinar. I appreciate you, actually join us. We have more webinars in the future, and we will continue to notify you folks. And today, I want to thank Dr. Wang. Has such a great explanation and prepared such a beautiful slides. I appreciate that. And we will continue to be in touch. I appreciate everything. And if you think that is good, can you put a 1 in your number down there and give Dr. Wan some encouragement.
Thank you
very much.
Bye bye.
All right, thank you again. Bye bye. Take care. 拜拜，多謝晒各位朋友，好多謝你今日咧係參與我哋個講座。多謝 Dr. Wan 咧係解釋咁清楚啦，亦都係能夠俾咗好多真係好嘅知識我哋。雖然今日個仲好多 question 啊，但係冇辦法，今日冇夠時間。咁我哋係好多謝 Dr. Wan 俾到咁好寶貴嘅時間我哋啦。咁我哋都多謝你係參與我哋嘅節目。咁下次咧，我哋希望更加多朋友嚟聽，咁然後我哋再答你嘅問題。OK，咁啊多謝各位。